to export gas to the rest of the world on a daily basis. And bridging that gap was probably the biggest challenge which we faced.
What do you think was the moment for you where you thought, wow, you know, I've made it?
I still haven't. That moment hasn't come.
Oh, wow, really?
I'm serious.
Yeah. Really?
For
everything that you've done and accomplished?
I'm far from satisfied. I still think that we've only just scratched the surface.
Is corruption a problem?
It's always a problem, but I mean, I think one of the key things that is happening is that corruption now becomes less of a problem when you liberalize the education
But there
system.
still is a corruption issue, and you know, like when you want to do business in the country, right? I mean, you know, that's something that investors, business people do need to navigate, right? I mean, I
think we should take it all into context.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, petty corruption is totally different from fundamental corruption when government officials who have been known to, in African countries to take a substantial amount of resources and not build the systems.
Right.
But now...
Right, so is it better or worse in Nigeria?
Much better. Much better. Why? Because the scope for corruption has been limited.
Okay.
Now, if the basic provision of resources is vested in the private sector, what happens is that the private sector runs away out of survival. First of all, we're doing this to survive, right? And we're doing this to make a difference in society. And before we know it, you've got very large corporations being built because the demand pool is strong. I mean, my country is 140 million people. Very few people have a market of that size to manage in most countries in the world. Now, so if the old days was that the government provided all the resources and was the allocator of resources, and accordingly in exchange for allocating these resources, they asked for payments in exchange. When you revert to a system which liberalizes an economy and encourages people to come and trade and build and invest, the scope for corruption practically disappears. In fact, the government announces a project, it takes them 5 years to deliver it. We announce a project, it takes us 18 months to deliver it. So there's just not much scope any longer. And I think the government is gradually receding to what it really should be doing, which is creating an enabling environment for the private sector to take over.
After the break, Tinubu tells us about some of the solutions he sees to the problems affecting the Niger Delta region.
Our company is made up of people who come from the Niger Delta. They've lived in those villages, they know those, they speak those languages. And our attitude, what we call corporate social responsibility, which companies struggle with, is just a part and parcel of doing business in Africa.
Modest and unassuming, Wale Tinubu is a respected figure in the business world, with a grueling schedule that sees him shuttling between several countries every week. The skies have, of late, become like a second home. We joined him on a field trip to the Niger Delta region.
The teamwork, the Oando teamwork, OAS teamwork, this is owned by a service division, Oando Energy Services. It's the second rig, first rig purchase. The second rig to come into operations. Right now, all the swamp rigs working in the Niger Delta belong to Oando PLC. We have this one is on a contract with Ajib for 2 years with an option to renew for 1 year. But Ajib has recently asked us to spend some months working for Shell. So we moved across to a Shell location, and we're going to be here for the next couple of months before we go back. This was purchased about 2.5 years ago. We spent 1 year refurbishing it in Nigeria. The refurbishment was done 100% by Nigerian personnel with spares and equipment brought in from the States, but it was a 100% indigenous operation done by 100% by a local contractor and run by indigenous engineers. And that was a priority for us to demonstrate. And it's been coming to service. It's been approved by all international standards. It's 100% crewed by Nigerians. And the service delivery is 100% world class.
I'm interested to know, how do you view the situation in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria? You have the pipeline issues with the rebels there, and it's fought with a lot of politics too. You're a businessman, you're trying to get things efficient and done. How do you see that?
I see the business solution as being the best solution, if you ask me. And it starts from this. First of all, there's been substantial neglect over the years from the government in terms of a lot of money that could have been pumped to the Niger Delta was used to develop the rest of Nigeria. It's a fact. We all know that it's a fact. We have a brand new capital, $20 billion plus of infrastructure investment has gone in over the last 10. There's plenty of infrastructure development in the rest of Nigeria. The realization has come, and our government is doing something about it. First of all, the Constitution requests that a minimum of 13% of the oil revenue be vested in the 5 or 6 oil-producing states. So effectively, those states are getting about 25–30% odd of the national revenues dedicated. There's also a requirement for 1% of the capital expenditure of all the oil companies to be vested in the Nigerian Delta Development Corporation, who in turn invests in Niger Delta. So the funding is there. What is required really is a concerted effort to ensure that the years of neglect get reversed by consistent investment in those areas. Effectively, you require a Marshall Plan for the Niger Delta.
Right.
The second thing,
and it's a political issue as well. I mean, it's fraught with that too.
Yes.
And as a businessman in the sector, those are the important things that you'd be considering on a daily basis.
I think it's become less political now. I think everybody has. The most important thing in the problem is identifying the fact that we have a problem and agreeing to the common solution. What is required is that concerted effort, and it's one of year in, year out effort, coupled, if you ask me, with indigenization of the oil industry, which is what the government has realized. And the government has actively done that by now creating the local content laws to encourage indigenous oil companies to be formed, to be created, and to go into the Niger Delta. I mean, our company is made up of people who come from the Niger Delta. They've lived in those villages, they know this, they speak those languages. And our attitude, what we call corporate social responsibility, which companies struggle with, is just a part and parcel of doing business in Africa. So as far as we're concerned, we will couple our first world, first class processes and systems and add it to a simple African way of doing of survival, which is basically looking after your own. And if you look after the environment which you're working in terms of providing schools, hospitals, social amenities, and ensuring that the community actually feels a benefit, an immediate benefit from your existence, as opposed to just paying royalties and taxes to a government which eventually has to budget, has to approve contracts, and by the time those resources get to you, you know what I mean, it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years down the line, but we can make an immediate impact, and that's what indigenous companies really are there for and can do, and that's the difference we can make.
When we return, Tinubu tells us how he balances family life with running a multi-million-dollar business.
If I can get on a plane and go to 2 countries or 3 countries in 2 days to achieve meetings, surely I can make it back for that big family occasion.
Entrepreneur Wale Tinubu is the CEO of Nigeria's energy company, Oando.
This coffee? Yeah.
If we want to see you